What if fem Deku was Trixie, the sports festival? One day before the sports festival, we go to the Midoriya estate, where Trixie is training with Fossil. Alright, you've used your magic quite well so far. Now try to send a big attack at me for a counterattack, as Fossil would rush at Trixie, as his hand would turn into that of a raptor, using the fossilized bone that he has on his body. As he would try to strike at Trixie, as she would create a barrier of magic from the red gem she was wearing. So the barrier happened to have been red. As he tries to use one of a raptor kick on the barrier, but it does not break through. Trixie then charges up a huge magical blast. Alright, Fossil, you want an attack? I'll give you an attack. From the all-powerful Trixie! As a huge attack would come towards Fossil, as he is shocked by the size of it, as it takes up half of the arena area they're just standing in on the field. As you say, crocodile skin, as a bone would turn his entire skin into a crocodile. As then he would get, and he noticed that the crocodile skin was cracking from her magic. He would then say Ankylosaurus skin, as the skin of the crocodile would then change out to be that of a Ankylosaurus. As this attack would push Fossil back, as his feet had dug into the ground so he wouldn't go flying. As he gets at the edge of the seemingly ground, as he then noticed the attack had stopped. As he takes a look at Trixie, who seems to be all fired up, but notices a little tinge of red in her eye. What was that? As it would just fade away. As then, he would then fall to a knee, as he would notice that the Ankylosaurus skin on his right leg was gone, and there was a big burn. It broke through my defense? As then he would notice the 3 bones he had used, which was the crocodile, and the Ankylosaurus, and the raptor, were all then disintegrated. Shocking Fossil. That attack would have ended me if I hadn't used the skin of the Ankylosaurus. What type of attack was that? As then, James would come out. Excellent done, Miss Trixie. As she scoffs. I knew I could beat him. Well, it's time for you to head in. You do have an extra class today. I'm out of UA for the day. Didn't they say I could have time to prepare for the sports festival? Yes, but that does not stop your other activities, such as your learning here at home. Now get to your studies. You don't want to be late, especially since your, English teacher doesn't like you being late. As she would sigh, very well, as she would start to leave, as James would go over and help Fossil up, as he would have a wince of pain on his leg, but he would start walking off. Thanks, James. I need to go see Jet now. As he would be limping away towards, Jet's office. As he would knock, come in, as Jet is currently looking through documents and every type of security, trying to get any detail on who was after Trixie. As Fossil comes in and then lays down in a chair right across from his desk. You know that Trixie is very powerful, right? Yes, her quirk is very one of a kind. No, she nearly knocked me out. As then, he stops what he's doing. Knocked you out? That's impossible. You've withstood punches from All Might before, haven't you? Yeah, and he couldn't even break through the Ankylosaurus bone of the skin. Although it left some cracks, he never broke it. She absolutely destroyed 3 bones. You seem fine. I'm talking about these, as he would show a few of the bones around his body that he wears to harness their power. I understand that these things have each value in different types of skills I can harness from these animals. But not once have I seen a bone shatter or turn to dust. Even against a fight like All Might, the best he did was break one in half. That's what he did. Never have I seen it get completely destroyed. And the fact that it targeted 3 bones, which were all 3 abilities I was using simultaneously at the same time, dealt a lot of damage. And if I hadn't activated the Ankylosaurus skin when I did, as he would pull his leg up onto Jet's desk, I would have worse than a little bit of a burnt leg. It would have been gone. Probably with the rest of my torso, as this would shock Jet. How? That red gem she wore. Each gem has a unique set of powers, abilities, right? No, she simply harnesses the energy from the gems. Forget about that. But whatever energy is in that gem, it felt uneasy. The red one? Yes, the red one. For one, when I was training with her the other days, she would use the other gems, which had power to them, but nothing like that red one. I have to ask you, don't let her bring that into the sports festival. As Jet would look intensely at Fossil, why do you say that? If she uses the power of the red gem, and if it can break through someone's defense that can withstand All Might's punches like mine, it will kill a person. With ease. The whole reason I think I'm still alive is I was using 3 bones simultaneously at once. That may have been the reason, because I had crocodile skin, ankylosaurus skin, and raptor skin all layered on top of my body, which gave me enough defense for that attack. If I did not have that defense, I can guarantee you, my body would have been gone. And you're confident that this would absolutely hurt someone really bad. Hurt? It would kill someone. And you know I don't joke stuff about this. Because I've worked with you, even though I'm a prisoner, to get my sentence down. I know power when I see it. That red gem she harnesses energy from is not like the rest of them. Fine, I'll talk to Trixie, and I'll not permit her to have that gem in the sports festival. Also, I don't like the feeling from the gem either. A feeling? Just call it a hunch. There's something off about that red one. Very well. As James would enter the room with cups of tea, as he would set one in front of Fossil and one in front of Jet. James, what is it? Well, I came here to deliver some tea, as it was a bit of my free time, and I came to deliver, a message. Y'all have speculating that the LOV has been after Trixie, correct? I have. I can now 100% confirm that Trixie was their main target at the USJ, other than the fact that they were targeting All Might. Is this what surprised Jet? How did you find that out? I have a few connections in the underworld. I pulled a few strings. I can also tell you the same people that are of the LOV are the same people that broke into Miss Midoriya's office, and is the reason why she's unconscious currently. As Jet would stand up before hitting the table. You gotta be kidding me, they're the same people? You should have already speculated that by now. What about my men? I still have not found any connection that they were the ones that killed your men. It could be an entirely different group, I'm not sure. But I can confirm that the reason Miss Midoriya is currently unconscious is because of the LOV. This is going to be a lot more than just one late night. Also, I don't think I can attend to that sports festival with my leg in this state. Cloud can go, as she's not one of the most mentioned villains of the media. But you would have to be with her to settle any heroes trying to pick a fight. Fine. I'm guessing the one reason you're also not going is because your leg? Yes. As James would get a closer look at his leg, let me see. As he would take a look, as he would touch his leg easy now, it still burns. About 3rd degree burns, but with your little bit of a healing factor with your bones, should heal up in about a few days. And it looks like your bone was protected, so you don't have to worry about any, fractures. You're lucky it was just a 3rd degree burn. From what I saw from that attack, it could have easily took your leg off. Can we not talk about that? After all, I think I want a nap. As he would just simply put, his, T-Rex helmet down as it would cover his eyes before he would just lean back in the chair. Well, I must talk to Miss Trixie. Before you go, James, tell Trixie that she cannot bring the red gem to the sports festival. That has become her favorite gem so far, since it was her last gift from her father. It will be hard trying to convince her not to bring it, but I will persuade the young lady. As James leave. Well, now that that's settled, Now that that's settled, I want some answers about this LOV. Oh, Cloud. If I'm gonna be working for y'all to lower my sentence, I want at least a little bit of information about this. Fine, sit down. As we go to James, who's going to, well, Trixie's English class. As he would open the door and walk in and see Trixie just doing some, like, sight words on, like, trying to say certain words in English. As James would just simply look, "Excuse me, teacher, may I have a moment with Miss Trixie?" As the lady teaching Miss Trixie would just simply nod, "Of course, I also need to go grab something from my car anyway." As she would leave, as Trixie would look over at James, "What do you want?" "I need to have a discussion with you." As he sets down a tea pitcher of coffee, as he would pour him a cup, "Would you like some, Miss Trixie?" "No, coffee's not my favorite." "I know very well. But I came to talk about your match earlier today." "What, against Fossil?" "I have to train for the sports festival." "Yes, I saw. Now, I saw the match as well as a few others saw it as well. I ask you not take the red gem with you to the sports festival." As Trixie would raise an eyebrow. "Why?" "Well, from what I heard from Fossil, if he hadn't used his quark, well, on 3 of his bones, per se, the fossil bones, of course," as you take a sip, "he might have lost his life in that fight." As this would surprise Trixie. My tech was really that powerful? Very. There's also remnants of the attack on a building, currently on the other side of the property. As this would surprise Trixie. How did my attack reach that far? Well, I did a little bit of looking after the attack and walked through the garden where there was it mostly went over the garden, thankfully. But it hit the tool shed. And let's just say we no longer have a tool shed. As this would surprise Trixie. I blew it up, didn't I? In short terms, yes. But, although it was a very impressive attack, you harnessed a little bit too much of that red gem's power. Well, he did say go all out. Can you tell me what you feel when you drain the energy from the gems? Well, when I drain the energy of a gem, I get a little bit of the gem's power, and I get a little bit of a boost in a certain emotion. As James would raise an eyebrow. An emotion. You could say that. I had told my father this when I first discovered my quirk, but I wanted to talk to him about it again, but he's not been home for quite a while. Yes, it's still a shame that he has so much business over in America. What about my mother? She said she would be back by now. As James just gulps. Well, you see, there's been an incident. As Trixie would then look at James with an intense glare. An incident? Yes, which had her go across to another country because of one of our offshore branches. And if it was avoided, she would. She had planned to give you a call, but you were already in bed, so I picked up the phone. Oh, is that the case? Yes. Now, why don't you get some sleep? We'll have your classes end early today. After all, you have a big day with the sports festival tomorrow. Very well. As Trixie would get up and leave. Oh, that was a close one. I thought Trixie saw through my lie. As he would get up and then leave the room, where he would look around looking for any other attendants. I've noticed a few of the staff hadn't been here of late. As then he would just pick up a phone before dialing it. Hello? Ah, yes, it's you. It's been some time. Listen, I need you to do a little bit of a check for me. What would that be? You and I used to be in the same squad. I want you to do a background check of everyone on the Midoriya estate. Why? Something feels odd, and I just want to double check some things. Shouldn't you know everyone at the Midoriya estate? I do, but as he just looks at the garden where there's a new gardener, I want you to do a double check. I think someone that's not supposed to witness Miss Trixie's quirk witnessed it, and I would not like getting that information out. Very well, I'll do a background check. Although I won't be able to give it to you for at least a week. I'm still on deployment. That's fine. Just have it to me at the earliest. Very well, man. As James would end the call, before looking at the gardener out in the garden. First of all, I know every new person that enters the estate. You, I don't recognize. As he would walk away, as the day would go on without anything else happening, as we go to the morning of the sports festival, as Trixie would get out of bed before she yawns, a big day today. As she would get dressed and she would try to choose one of her gems. As she would grab her purple one. As she would wear it on, well, a necklace. And by the way, with her quirk being the, able to absorb energy from gems, she's allowed to have a support item like that into the sports festival. As she would leave the room and making her way downstairs where Cloud and Jet were standing at the door waiting for her. Are you two accompanying me to the sports festival? We are. After all, I have to make sure your safety is the top priority as the head of security of the Midorias. Shouldn't you be overseas with my mother then? There's more urgent stuff here than overseas where your mother's at. As James had informed Jet about his lie that he told Trixie. As they go to the car, as Cloud would open it, as first Trixie would enter, then Jet, then Cloud. As the driver would immediately drive off to UA. Time skip to after they arrive and the setting up of the sports festival. As currently, Cloud would be with Trixie, as they wait for the students to be called for the first years. As most of the students would be in a waiting area, as they're all in their UA uniforms. As she would be with her class, and they would be talking as they would ask, "Why is your bodyguard here?" Kendo would ask. "I don't know, for some reason my head bodyguard, Jet, informed me that I need more protection for some reason. Says something's happened and required more security. I don't know why." As, do you know what her name is? As a lot of them are intimidated by Cloud. Oh, her name's Cloud. Yes, that's my name, and friends of Miss Trixie is a friend of mine. Although Cloud is brand new and was a prisoner, she prefers to stay on Trixie's good side because she thinks it would lower her sentence a lot. As, well, nice to meet you, Cloud. As a lot of the students like Kendo, Pony, the Mushroom Girl, I'm not remembering all their names at the moment, but I will, Monoma, and the rest of the class, will start talking, and then they would have a good chat before the announcement would call, and they would leave. As then Cloud would get a call over her radio. Yes, Jet? How is Miss Trixie? She just left to head to the main field. Class 1A will be doing a speech, correct? One of the students, right. I want you to check something for me. What is it? You know I'm a criminal. If I go around here with all these heroes, they're not gonna know I'm currently working for the Midorias. I'm aware. Just keep an eye on Trixie. I got some investigating I want to do around the stadium. Investigating? What is there to investigate? There's nothing but heroes here. Who's gonna be dumb enough to attack this place? Unless you want all the top 10, or most of them, to fight you. It's a stupid idea. You have half the heroes of the country here. That's true. But this is also a good time for information. And this is live streamed across the entire country. I know it's broadcasted across the entire country, Cloud. But do you really think that someone's stupid enough to try this? For the right price, anyone will do anything. Even crash an event like this. Exactly. Although I think nothing will happen, I do think that someone may show, and just try to get information. And if they see an opportunity, say, try to kidnap a person amongst the chaos of the sports festival, especially if they were eliminated, well, with all the chaos and all the attention on the battles, it would be expected that a person would go unnoticed, especially if they were well disguised. I can only think of one group that would do that, though. But they're too smart for this. Overhaul's group, correct? How could you guess? Overhaul has tried to mess with the Midoriya business for a while. Tried bribing, tried a lot of things. Although we cannot commit him by crimes as he is doing illegal business. There is the fact that he has tried really bad methods to try to take over the Midoriya's business a little bit. You think he'll try something here? No, but there is a possibility. You've got too much going through your head. Just enjoy the show. But what do you need me to do? Just keep an eye out. Very well. As the call would end, and we go to Trixie, who is out with all the other students, which will be doing the obstacle course first, but first we have Bakugo's speech, where he says he'll be better than everyone, and all that, causing everyone to be enemies of Class 1A. Honestly, Bakugo really messed up with his speech, because he made no one want to team up with 1A during the entire sports festival. And that was just because of Bakugo. But we started as the obstacle course starts, as Trixie would run, and she would harness the power of her purple gem to increase her speed. And she would just barely manage to, well, be out of the range of Shoto's ice cork when he activated it. Although she could feel a little bit of a chill, she was not frozen in place. She was a bit of in the lead, as she would be running, keeping up with people of Class 1A that were ahead, as she would reach the area with the robots, the 0-pointers, as a robot would throw a fist down towards, well, the students, as Trixie would just seemingly walk around the 0-pointers. As one tries to hit her, it would get frozen by Todoroki arriving, as she would just simply grin as she would let all the other students deal with it while she just simply went around. As now, she would be the third person to the second obstacle, which is like a ravine where they have to cross a tightrope, as she would use the magic of the gem to propel herself over, making like a magical bridge towards each individual rock area, until she would cross the canyon, being the sixth person to cross it. As she would make her way towards, well, the minefield. At this point, a lot of students have tried ways to slow down the top, 10 people from trying to cross the finish line or from getting to a head. Now, Trixie would just simply activate like a shield around her using the energy of the purple gem. As she would reach the minefield, as she was constantly thinking, as she would step before it would blow up, but she had that shield around herself because people were trying stuff, such as trying to trip and all that. It's an event. People try stuff like that. As she would, fall back a little bit, but the barrier would protect her from taking any damage. Now, in the observation room, people would be watching Trixie. And in this observation room, we'll say Nezu, Jet, All Might, and a few others were watching. As Jet would just constantly keep an eye on Trixie on the monitor at all times, just making sure that nothing happens. As, remember, it's his top priority to make sure nothing happens to Trixie as the head bodyguard. So he would constantly be surveilling around, and Cloud would enter, which would surprise several of the heroes that were in there, because some of them recognized her, and they would attempt to activate their quirks, such as Endeavor, as his quirk would then stop, surprising him. I wouldn't do that if I were you. She's currently a guard of the Midoriya estate. As this would surprise Endeavor, as All Might would be surprised as well. You have a villain working with you? It's not the first time the Midoriyas have hired villains from Tartarus. They'll do anything to have their senses lowered. And as long as they don't target the Midoriyas afterward, they're free to go. As this would shock All Might and Endeavor, and don't try anything, as he would just glare, as Nezu would clap. Now, there's no reason to fight. Let's focus on the rest of the event. And while this was happening, Trixie had managed to basically make a small field above herself, where she would cross, just above the landmines to where she would not trigger them. As she would pass in 10th place. Now, with most of UA, in this one, I would say Bakugo got the 10,000 headband, the highest headband. Now, Trixie would join Monoma and his team, which consisted of 3 other people. Now, Monoma will have the headband. Kendo, I want to say the Vine Girl with long hair, and Tetsu. Now, with this team, they would focus on other people instead of Bakugo, and the reason being was because of Trixie. I'm not going to go too in depth in this one, but I will say that they managed to collect a few headbands and managed to be one of the teams that passed, with Mei Hatsume not continuing to the next round as she joined, well, Izuku's team in the main timeline. But for the main part, the entire Monoma's team was able to pass with Trixie, just making it brief. Now, we are going to do a little bit of the same and yet different fights for the 1v1s. But for the most part, most of them are going to be defeated because Kirishima and Tetsu is the same. Monoma gets beat by Bakugo. Now, Trixie versus, well, Shinzo would now begin, as Trixie would get on the stage as Shinzo would be on the other side. How good is it to feel to be in the hero course? As she would simply walk, why would I need to talk when I'm just... As then she would be caught under Shinzo's mind control. As Shinzo would say, I got you. Now, walk out of bounds. As she would turn around, walking towards the edge. But then her gem would start glowing, as it seemingly her quirk is, well, absorbing all of the energy from the purple gem, which caused her eyes to turn purple before she quickly turns around, sending a bit of a beam towards Shinzo, which hits him in the gut, sending him flying out of the stadium. As she would regain consciousness, and she was like, what happened? As then she would notice that Shinzo was out of bounds and against a wall. I guess I'm that even more powerful than I thought. As the only person that noticed her eyes turning purple was Jet, the head bodyguard. Same thing with the purple gem, but the red one. What's going on? James did tell me it was connected to her emotions, but what does purple insinuate? Is there more to her quirk I'm not aware of? As he would quickly turn around before signaling to Cloud. As Cloud would approach, during the rest of these current sports festival, keep an eye on Trixie. She's not going to be able to beat Shoto, unfortunately. How can you tell? With an ice and fire quirk as powerful as his, it's her next opponent. Even with the help of her gem, that ice may be too much. What if she does pass? I don't know. Just keep an eye out. Also, I want you to go digging into what those gems are. I think there's more than we know of these type of gems she uses. What do you mean? For one, I've never heard of a gem that would affect someone's quirk. What if it's her quirk? She does have the power to drain gems. I don't think that has any ability of her looking like she's not in control. What do you mean? If she would have broken control, she would have noticed that she fired the beam. From the look of her face, she didn't know it. So go to the UA library and see if you can find anything. If not, head to the Midoriya Resident Library when we get back. I need to know everything about what just happened. Fine, but why do I have to be stuck on book duty? Call Fossil, have him do it. That's actually a pretty good idea. As he would grab his phone, as we just go to the next match, as most of it would be go on as canon until it was Shoto and Trixie turn to fight. Now, Trixie would be on one end, and Shoto would send his ice towards Trixie, as she would make a barrier of, well, magic using the gem. As the ice would just circle around her, as then she would send a blast towards Todoroki, who saw it coming because, well, purple going through ice, you kinda can see the beam. As he would dodge to the left, as Trixie would just walk out through the hole she made, as she would send a few more blasts of energy from the energy absorbed from the gem. Where do you think you're going? As she would send like a long whip-like beam going across the field. As Shoto would use a ice wall, as it would get cut, but would stop at the very end towards Todoroki for the ice wall. As then he would send a huge area of ice towards her, as then she would prepare to make another magic field, as then for some reason, the gem energy would not stop being absorbed, as she was shocked a little bit, but she used the remaining energy to create a shield around herself, which still blocked the attack, but now she was encased in ice. Although she had a bit of room in the ice because of her shield, she is still surrounded by like an ice avalanche skull. You know, the same thing he did to the tape guy in the sports festival, like that. Except she's able to walk out of it. Now, she tries to drain any more energy out of the gem, but it seems like all of its power is gone for the time being, which would surprise Trixie. This is bad. As then she would immediately turn the necklace around, as there happened to have been another gem on the back of her necklace behind her shirt, this one being a green one. As she would use the power, and then suddenly like a few plants would arise from the ground, stopping Todoroki from another ice attack. He said I couldn't use the red one, but not any of my other ones. And she would just smile. As she would send like plants would start growing up off the ground, trying to ensnare Todoroki. Now, with Todoroki being already very exhausted because he used so much ice, and the ice is constantly freezing over his body a little bit, because during the sports festival, he didn't want to use Endeavor's side, so the ice would spread over his body, and he wouldn't be using the fire side to cool it off. As she would constantly be saying vines, as he would still try to block with the ice, but it would break through the ice and will constantly go after Todoroki until he decided to use his fire, because of what Trixie said. Why don't you use your full power instead of just playing around? I know you're the son of Endeavor, and I know you have a half and half quirk, as she would say, in a bit of a sarcastic tone. As he would then use his fire to burn the plants and attack towards Trixie, which would be blocked by plants just coming out of the ground and stopping Todoroki's attack. That's more like it. I can finally see what your true strength is. Now, if I only hadn't used all of my energy on the other gem, I would have more of an advantage here. As she would basically use the gem's energy to summon like more plants, like magic, as they would surround Todoroki. As Trixie would start walking up to Todoroki, this is the finale. As she would go to try to punch Todoroki, as then he would use his fire side to burn the plants, and then kick Trixie in the stomach, before grabbing her arm, flipping her over him, and onto the outside of the arena, causing Trixie to be eliminated. As she would be like, oh man, as she would get up and start walking away, very irritated on her face that she lost, causing Todoroki to go to the next round. As she would leave just to be greeted by the bodyguard Cloud. Cloud, what are you doing here? Listen, Trixie, we must go. Why do we need to leave? I can watch the rest of my class fight Class 1A. Not really, that's not important right now. I have a feeling that something's going wrong. Alright, let's go. As Trixie and Cloud would leave. Now, as they would leave and Trixie got chained, the real Cloud would enter the locker room, but didn't see Trixie. As she's looking around, what in the world? I saw her go in here a few minutes ago. As she's looking for Trixie, as she's leaving through the gates with a person that is disguised like Cloud with a smirk. And that is the end of What If fem Deku Was Trixie, the sports festival. Make sure to like and subscribe for more.